Okay, this is the solution walkthrough for the CMM 007 Assess Lab. Okay, so in task 1, the purpose is to create 3 HTML5 prototypes for the mockups that are shown in the sheet. First thing that really should be done here is pay attention to where the marks are going to be awarded. So using HTML5, proper page structure, make use of the suggested IDs for the relevant HTML5 tags, and match the mockup style with relevant CSS rules. Okay, so that's the first thing. First prototype is index.html, so the landing page. There's a bit of a description about what that should have, but it's fairly simple. So a page header, page content, and page footer. And the only other thing of interest is there should be 2 hyperlinks to the other pages. So once you've had a look at that, the code hopefully should be quite straightforward. When I switch into my editor and look at index.html, first thing we can see is we're using the doc type for HTML5, so important to include that. It's an easy place where marks can be deducted. Then following on the proper HTML page structure, we've got opening HTML tags and the close tag. Also got a head section, open close, followed by a body section. Okay, within the head section we've got a title, it's fairly straightforward, and a link to the style sheet, which I'll show you in a couple of seconds. In the body section we have the first of the 3 bits of content. So there's the page header, page content, and page footer. If I switch back to the sheet, you can see this is what was asked for. Very important to make sure these things match up. Another place that marks can be lost. So I've used those IDs for my header section, then the main content, and for the footer. Okay. One thing you're asked to do is make sure the page header, whenever the user clicks on it, always comes back to index.html. So to achieve this, there's a couple ways you can do it. The best way is to wrap the entire header section within a href tag. Alternatives would be maybe just within the h1 tag. Both would have been acceptable. Okay. This just means whenever we look at the actual finished page, when we move the mouse pointer over and click, that'll always take us to index.html. Okay, the next section is page content, and again we're using HTML5 tags, we're using the section tag. Div would be acceptable here, but if the specification asks for HTML5 where appropriate, do try to make proper use of the new tags. This section is fairly simple, it just had to have a list, so I've got an unordered list here with 2 items, and each item just had to be a hyperlink to another page. So list movies and add movie are the 2 other pages, which we will make in a couple of seconds. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. We go to the web browser view, you can see we have our 2 pages. Okay, finally the page has a footer, so again we're using HTML5 tags, making sure we've got our ID that was asked for, and then a simple paragraph. Okay, so that's basically all you need for the landing page. It's quite straightforward, nothing overly complex. And important things to note are try to keep the code as neat as possible. If you notice that structure where I'm nesting all my HTML tags, makes it much easier to read and mark. Okay. The only other thing probably to talk about now is the style sheet. You're asked to match the style. Okay, so we can see from the pictures it's fairly straightforward. We've got black backgrounds for the header and footer, and the rest is fairly straightforward. So there's nothing complex. There's no multiple column layout, etc. If we go into the CSS for that, so I've got a file called style.css. I've changed the font for all text on the page, so that's optional. The important things here was to use the ID for the page header, and then change the background colour to black, change the foreground colour or the text to white, and I've optionally put in some padding just to make it look neat. Okay, so you can see the effects in the browser of having white text on a black background. Page content, again, I've just put a few margins in to make things look neat and tidy. And again, in the page footer, change the background colour to put black and the foreground colour to be white. There's a couple other little rules I've put in here. I've got two class rules for form field and highlight red. These come into play later on, just in case you're wondering.